Bowcock. I'm a Regional Manager for Positive Behaviour Support at ORS, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about pathological demand avoidance, what this means for our little ones, and how we can use play therapy to support in improving our little ones' quality of life. So what is demand avoidance, and how does this differ from pathological demand avoidance? It's a normal human trait to not always do what's asked of us, and it can be pretty normal to, at times, if someone asks us to go do some homework, that we're going to say no because we don't want to at that time. The difference between this and pathological demand avoidance is that pathological demand avoidance is all-encompassing. So when they're asked to do something and they don't want to do it, it can evoke really big levels of anxiety, which can result in behaviours such as like aggression, hitting, kicking, big meltdowns, just crying on the floor, and they're just really unable to control the emotions that come across with that demand. The key underlying difference here is the extreme levels of anxiety and loss of control that someone may experience when presented with a demand. So even if you're asking them to do something that they love, because of that loss of control and the anxiety that they're experiencing, they're going to want to say no, and if pushed to do this, experience really high levels of anxiety that often resemble the symptoms of panic attacks. As we understand more about pathological demand avoidance, we are seeing that it is highly linked to neurodivergence. And that's because a neurodivergent person is less in tune with social communication and social cues. So when a demand is placed on them, it can feel to the neurodivergent person as if it came out of nowhere because they didn't fully understand the cues or the communication that came before it. While a neurotypical child may complete many routine tasks and the demands that teachers or parents may place on them, this is because they have an understanding of social norms, and it's what's expected of them and helps them to fit in with others. A neurodiverse child, however, doesn't have this same understanding and doesn't have the motivation to fit in. So when a demand is placed on them, it can make it a little bit more difficult for them to comply with that demand because they don't have the same understanding of the social norms. In a classroom, for example, you've got a whole bunch of kids, and most of them will understand that the teacher is the one in charge. So if the teacher asks you to do something, you're going to follow it. This is sort of an understanding of social learning, so you don't have to overtly teach it. It's just understanding and assimilating to those social constructs. For a kid with neurodivergence, however, if a teacher's asking them to start doing their maths homework, but they're drawing a shark, they're going to find it really difficult to understand why the teacher's taking them away from something that they're wanting to do, and because they don't have the same understanding of the social constructs. So they're going to keep wanting to draw their shark and are going to find it really, really anxiety provoking when they're forced to change a task that they're enjoying to something that they're not wanting to do. This really highlights the disconnect in social learning between those that are neurotypical and those that are neurodiverse, whereby a neurotypical child will follow others just to get along and tune into that, so they don't have to be overtly taught social situations. A neurodiverse individual, however, is not going to fit in just to fit in. They need to know more about the whys. There's different types of demands that we see with pathological demand avoidance, and these include direct demands, indirect demands, and internal demands. Direct demands refer to requests or questions that are made by other people or situations. So this could be, go put on your shoes, go have a shower, go pay that bill. Internal demands refer to things like internal bodily demands, where your body may say that you're thirsty, but then you're not going to drink, or things such as thoughts, so internal feelings preventing you from completing a demand. Indirect demands are less obvious than your internal and direct demands and involve things such as time, transitions, and praise, whereby if someone tells you that you're really good at something, you feel like you can't complete that task again because you won't reach that same expectation. It's really important that we are supporting our children in those early stages when we start seeing signs of pathological demand avoidance, because if we keep thinking, oh, they're going to grow out of this, we're going to end up with adults that aren't able to assert their independence and be able to do tasks by themselves because they've had a long-standing history of being able to avoid that demand. It can be really difficult to teach those adaptive skills to our little ones when they are experiencing big feelings as a result of a demand being placed on them. But I have the perfect play therapy strategy for you to help bring down those big feelings and support your little one in learning those skills. You may have heard about a favourite childhood playground game called Red Light, Green Light. We can actually use this as a communication tool when our kids are experiencing big feelings after a demand has been placed on them to bring down those feelings and get them back on track. The rules of red light, green light are simple. You've got one person in and a whole bunch of kids at a starting line. When the person that's in says green light, the kids are able to move forward, but as soon as they say red light, everyone has to freeze in place. Once you reach the person that's in, there's a game of chases, everyone goes back to the start, and whoever's tipped is the next person in. When kids are engaged in this game, there's always so much laughter and giggles. They're really enjoying the time that they're spending with those that they're playing with. They're also engaged in physical activity. Because of this, it causes a really positive association with the terms red light and green light, which is why we can then use these terms when they are experiencing big emotions. How many of you have placed the demand of no or stop on your child and watched the big meltdown that ensues following? Instead of saying these words, instead try and say red light in a positive, upbeat tone and watch your child freeze in place. In order for this strategy to be effective, you are going to have to play this game quite a few times so that the language becomes second nature to your children. You are also going to have to make sure that you say red light in a positive tone. Otherwise, the strategy will not be as effective. This strategy is going to ensure that we're not enabling the avoidance that comes when you place a demand on your child, but we're also reducing the likelihood of those big feelings that come with pathological demand avoidance. Just remember, when our kids are experiencing those really big feelings as a result of pathological demand avoidance, that this is not a deliberate choice. They're not trying to be naughty, they're not trying to frustrate us. They've just got lots of big feelings that they don't quite understand. So it's really important for us to take a step back and look at how we can better communicate with them while building on their adaptive skills so that they can have a really wonderful quality of life. So with this in mind, remember to give yourself and your children permission to play. If you enjoyed this strategy, please give us a thumbs up, or if you'd like to know more about positive behaviour support and how we can help you at ORS, please contact us on our 1800 number.